Hello, welcome. Today we're going to be doing a yoga sequence to help with low back pain. Let's go ahead and get started. If you don't have time to watch right now, go ahead and save this video to your watch later and just watch whenever you get a chance. So let's get started in child's pose. So go ahead and bring your big toes together and nice wide stance with your knees. So just a little bit wider than you're used to with child's pose. And go ahead and just start to bring your head towards the mat, letting those hips sink down towards your heels, not trying to force those the hips down. This is one of the best positions that you can get in for your low back. It's a really safe way to open up the hips and create space, that low spine. Just starting to settle in, letting the head rest, just breathing into those hips. And see if you can just allow those hips to soften and sink down a little bit more. I'm just taking our time here. Go ahead and walk your hands forward, pressing those palms. Tuck the chin in, feeling length in that neck. And just breathing into that low spine as we press those palms. You should feel a deeper stretch in that low back with your arms extended. And go ahead and come into tabletop position. You can just bring those knees in, stacking the hips over the knees and the shoulders over the wrists. And let's go ahead and do a few cat-cows. Just one vertebrae at a time, extra slow today. Go ahead and inhale, round that spine, tucking the chin in. And one vertebrae at a time to open. Rolling those shoulders back. Let's do about 4 more. Nice and slow, rounding the spine, tucking the chin in, pressing through the palms, and to open, go ahead and just roll those shoulders back. Go ahead and move at your own pace, a few more. And one more. Coming into neutral position, go ahead and just walk those hands forward a little bit. Tuck the toes under, downward facing dog. Go ahead and just press those thighs back, letting the heels sink down. Don't be afraid to walk in a little bit or out a little bit with your feet, your hands, just making those little adjustments so you can get as much comfort as you can in this position. Pressing through the palms, feeling length in the spine as we just sink our heels down. Go ahead and lift that left foot, bend that left knee, and just starting to open up the hips towards the left. You press through the palms. And opposite side, bringing the weight into the left foot. Lifting that right leg, bending that right knee, opening those hips up towards the right. Let that left heel sink down. Go ahead and release. Now let's just pause. Enjoying that length in the spine. Go ahead and bring your knees down, child's pose. One more time, go ahead and bring the knees not quite as wide, but wider than hip distance. Big toes together, you can just rest your head. Rest your palms overhead. And go ahead and drag your left hand by your left knee. And I'd like you to just start walking your right hand over. You can lift your head as you need to. And I want you to just press that right palm feeling that stretch in your low spine and your shoulder. You might need to walk your hand over a little bit more if you're not feeling it, your low back. You're going to feel it in your left hip as well. Just breathe. And go ahead and lift that head, and you can bring that left arm over, reaching towards the right. You can drag that right hand towards your right knee. And you're going to feel this in your left shoulder, your left low back, and your right hip. And just breathe, especially into that low back, that left side. And coming back to center. And I'd like you to just bring your hands in, coming onto your forearms. So really just letting those hips sink down, feeling that spine lengthen. So I want you to feel like you're lengthening all the way from your tailbone and just really letting your hips sink down. You should feel this a lot more in your groins. And let's go ahead and come on to our hands, moving into downward facing dog. Go ahead and spread those fingers nice and wide. Tuck those toes under. Press those thighs back. And I'd like you to lift that left leg. And coming into pigeon, go ahead and bring that left knee forward. And just go ahead and scooch that right leg back as much as you need to. So if you need a little bit less, I'd like you to just you want to bend your knee a little bit more. If you need a little bit more, you can form like a 90-degree angle with your forward leg. So if there's a lot of space in between your glute and the floor, you don't need to push it with your forward leg. So in this position, just breathing into that left hip. This is going to help create more space in the low back. You can also come onto your forearms if you'd like, and just tuck your chin in, keeping that neck nice and relaxed. Breathing into that left hip. Just allowing that hip to start to soften a little bit more. And just a few more breaths here. Coming out nice and slow. And just scooch that left leg back. Coming into position for dog. Go ahead and press on back. Just cleaning the slate before we move to the opposite side. A few breaths here. So from dog, go ahead and lift that right leg. Bend that right knee. Coming into pigeon on the opposite side. Go ahead and just scooch that left leg back. And just find what feels right for you today. Make any adjustments you need to with that forward leg. And you can come onto your forearms if you need a deeper stretch. And just taking our time here, breathing into that right hip. Just breathing into that right hip. Taking a few more breaths here. And coming out nice and slow. Come on up and just scooch that right leg back. Coming into dog once again. And tuck those toes under. And just enjoy this space in the spine, lengthen the spine, and press back. Really letting those heels sink down a little bit further this time, feeling more of a stretch in our calves and our ankles. And come on down, let's move into child's pose just one last time. Bring the big toes together. Knees apart, and just see if you can allow those hips to sink down a little bit further. go ahead and come on up, and let's come into a reclined position. And go ahead and make sure that your toes are lined up with your mat before you lean back. Go ahead and lean back. So coming into bridge, go ahead and press through your feet. Lift those hips. Go ahead and bring your arms overhead. Just letting your legs really support that low back. Feeling strength in the thighs as we press through the feet, reach through the fingertips. And just keeping that belly soft. Let's take a few more breaths here. And go ahead and release. So just learning to do simple things in a more intentional way can really help with low back pain. So one thing, when you're moving into that position that we were just in, I want you to activate your glutes a little bit more. One way that you can do that is just rotate your hips. So I want you to press the flat of your back against the floor, and you're just going to rotate your hips. And what this does, it activates your glutes. And so we're going to let our glutes kind of carry us in and out of this pose so our low back feels safe and supported. So keeping that position of the hips, just press through your feet. It's a feeling of tucking your tailbone in to stay in that position. Go ahead and bring your arms overhead, keeping the glutes activated, pressing the tailbone in. Takes a lot of pressure off of your low back. Let's take a few breaths here. Really keeping our glutes and our quads activated here. Just allowing our spine to open nice and safely. And nice and slow, go ahead and release. You can bring your hands onto your abdomen. Let's go ahead and just pause for a minute, take a few breaths. You can close your eyes. And just a few deep inhales and exhales, letting your hands lift with every inhale and fall with every exhale. Just a few more breaths here. Go ahead and bring your arms overhead, reaching through your fingertips, and you can straighten your legs, reaching through your toe tips. I want you to just feel lots of length in the spine, especially that low back. And go ahead and bring your arms out by your sides, palms facing up, and you can just bring that right knee up and over, coming to a twist for that right side. Bringing the right knee over, reaching through those right fingertips. Breathing into that low back. And just taking our time here. Really reaching through that right arm. Feeling that stretch in the shoulder as well. Go ahead and nice and slow, go ahead and release. And opposite side, bringing that left knee over, just like a corkscrew. So starting from the tailbone, moving all the way up towards the neck, twisting all through the spine, reaching through those left fingertips. Breathing into that low back and shoulder. A few more breaths here. Go ahead and release. And I'd like you to just straighten your legs. Go ahead and bring that right knee in, and I want you to keep reaching through your left toes. Go ahead and just bring your head up and draw that right knee in, letting the spine round a little bit, feeling the stretch in our hip and our back. Go ahead and lower the head. Just relax those shoulders. and release. And opposite side, go ahead and bring that left knee in, and I want you to just reach through your right toe tips. Interlace those fingers and just draw the head in. Go ahead and let that spine round. Breathing into that left hip. Go ahead and just drop the head. And a few more breaths here. And release. Go ahead and bring both of your knees in, and we're just going to go ahead and start by interlacing our fingers. And if you need to, if you want a tighter hold, you can grab hold of your wrist or higher up on the arm. And go ahead and just rest your head down, letting the low spine really round and open. If it feels too tight in your hips, you can always just take a step back, create a little more space. It's okay if your knees move farther apart, if you need more space. Just tucking that chin in, breathing into those hips and that low spine. Relaxing those shoulders. And go ahead and release. And ending with happy baby pose, just opening up the hips, massaging our low back. Grab hold of the outer edges of your feet and just let your hips get used to this position for a second. And go ahead and just rock from side to side, massaging the back. Breathing into those hips. And just hold for a second. Really pressing the feet down, opening up those hips, bringing the toes down. Don't be afraid to open up those legs a little bit more if you need more space in your hips. And go ahead and release. And that is all for today. Thank you for joining me today. If you enjoyed today's video, you should check out our app Yoga Plus, where you'll find some really great content. I look forward to seeing you there.
Welcome to Yoga Plus. Courses available from pupil to yogi. Sort by yoga, fitness, and instructors. Create your own routines. Access the pose library. Yoga Plus by Psyche Truth. Available on Google Play and the App Store.
Join us for 14 and 30-day programs, hour-long classes, and much more on our yoga app, Yoga Plus by Psyche Truth. It's free to download and features a variety of wellness content, including yoga, fitness, Pilates, guided meditations, and interviews with dozens of wellness experts.